How does Wroth strikingly convey her attitude to love in this poem? In the poem, Song, by Lady Mary Wroth, the poet describes her attitude to love as a feeling that is voracious and never satisfied. Through the personification of love, Wroth presents false promises and ideals in a relationship. The poem provides a pessimistic view of love to a point where it's almost anti-love. At the same time, it highlights the men's role in a relationship and marriage. Throughout the poem, Wroth uses the personification of love as a child to signify the often demanding nature of love and the vulnerability within. This idea is introduced directly in the first line of the poem, "Love a child is ever crying." The absolute adverb, ever, emphasizes the endless and relentless need for attention in a love relationship. Moreover, using an image of a child with the association of love connotes the classical Roman god Cupid. As the actions of Cupid in mythology are often arbitrary, the allusion to the winged god here associates love with a sense of randomness and irrationality. Wroth uses the image of a child to highlight the natural instinct in human nature. As readers of the poem, we're taking the position of being a mother while the baby represents something we care for and want to nurture. It displays love being something we long for and want to develop at the same time, shows the difficulty that comes with it with the phrase, ever crying. Wroth presents the idea that love demands our immediate attention, similar to the reason a child cries, to seek attention as the demand for love is endless. Next, Wroth declares the subject of the poem as a man, with the multiple uses of pronouns, him, and he. It represents the male's role in marriage and highlights the negative side in a relationship with the lines such as, "What he promiseth he breaketh," and, "To cozen you he'll flatter." The verb, promiseth, connotes the idea of vows which links to marriage. Wroth here draws a link between the action of breaking a promise and the breaking the vow, suggesting the lack of commitment typically for men in a relationship. This is further demonstrated in the first line in stanza 3, where Wroth writes, "He vows nothing but false matter." This suggests a sense of lies and abandonment to display the false ideals and fickleness in relationships as the subject is inconsistent in his affections. Throughout the poem, Wroth addresses the male subject solely with the pronouns, such as, please him, give him, and, he speaketh. As the poet does not mention any specific name or title for the male, it gives a sense of anonymity to the addresses. At the same time, it provides a universal feeling that many can relate to with the subject of dormant patriarchy. On the other hand, the poet addresses the reader with the second-person pronoun, you. The direct and straightforward way of referring is used to oppose the reader to the male subject. Moreover, love is presented as taking delight in its victim's pain when Wroth describes it as, triumph in your wailing. Wroth presents the paradox of love by emphasizing the contrast between what she believes are two inevitable emotions, pleasure and pain. The use of the verb, triumph, means to win over, as if loving someone is competitive, it's a game. The phrase implies that in a love relationship, there's a winner and a loser. This representation of love as perhaps a game or a battle also reveals that Wroth believes there will always be someone being hurt in a relationship. The connotations of the word, triumph, are contrasted by the verb, wailing, which shows the agony of the loser in love. As wailing suggests loss, pain and anger, Wroth presents the inevitable agony that love brings. At the same time, as love brings pain, it links with the idea of taking power in love. Thus the poet hints that there's a celebration of having the control in a relationship and the devastation when losing it. Furthermore, Wroth describes the romantic desires in a love relationship. The romantic needs are highlighted with the poet's use of words such as, endless folly as his treasure, virtues, and gifts. The noun, folly, describes the sheer idiocy and stupidity and is compared to the desire of love, showing how love, a natural human emotion, can make people go crazy and foolish, causing irrational things constantly. Ultimately, for Wroth, love always leads to disaster. Towards the end of the poem, Wroth juxtaposes two contrasting imageries with the line, feathers are as firm in staying, wolves no fiercer in their preying. The poet uses two metaphors of two subjects to compare to love. The features connote a feeling of softness and comfort, and it is desirable. However, it is also weak and can be blown away easily. Through this metaphor, love is seen as having these desirable qualities but lacking the consistency that Wroth wishes to have. The other imagery in "Wolves no fiercer in their preying," wolves are often portrayed to be vicious and heartless. The image here makes the reader picture love as being on the lookout for its prey, thus wanting to inflict its misery onto people, the emotions being the trap. As love is presented as causing havoc in this poem, Wroth uses many structural devices to emphasize her warning about the disastrous effects of love. The poem is written with a very controlled structure, in quatrains with rhyming couplets throughout. This precise structure reflects the poet's attempt to give measured, well-considered advice to her reader about love, and highlights the seriousness of her warnings. Wroth's emotions are also lost with the regular structure, providing a plain and undisturbed tone of the speaker's voice. However, the use of rhyming couplets, such as "measure" and "treasure," seems almost ironic, as they are consistent throughout, and her criticism is of just that, coupling in love. The repetition of the opening rhyming couplet, "ing," again at the close of the poem creates a sense of recollection. Wroth takes the reader back to her original message of warning, as if her hypothesis is proven with the rest of the poem and now wants the reader to accept her advice and steer well clear. Moreover, the indentation of each stanza provides a hierarchy between the lines, as the first line is always put forward and signifies the power within love. In conclusion, Wroth conveys her cynical, bleak attitude towards love with her use of personification. The poet criticizes the often male dominance in relationships while highlighting the lies and abandonment of the male partner. Using various literary devices such as personification and metaphors, with her unique use of language, the poet mostly focuses on the dark and unpleasant side of being in love, but also loosely mentions the positive side of love, presenting the complex nature of love.